we'll cover both strategic and tactical issues because, depending on who's here in the room, you'll have to deal with both issues. So how many of you would consider yourself either the webmaster or a tech-related person with respect to your website? About maybe a third. So would everybody else is sort of a marketing person? I guess raise your hand if you're sort of a marketing person or operations. All right. So we've got an interesting mix of people here. So we'll need to make sure we cover the sort of geeky stuff as well as the less geeky stuff that's more strategic and more tactical with respect to what you would want to tell somebody else to do because you maybe don't know how to do it yourself if you're not high in the geek factor. So the thing is, the reason everybody's here is search engine marketing has become increasingly important because that's what people go to when they have a question these days. They basically use the search engines as a resource to answer pretty much any question. So what I like to do to sort of start off things, I guess you wouldn't really call it an icebreaker, but just a way of sort of thinking about search engine marketing is try to remember last January what you think the top search in Google might have been. So we can even do a little contest around it. If you want to take out a business card and put down what you think the top search was in Google for 2004. Actually, that one I'll just we'll talk about last January. Actually, for last January, if you want to take out a business card and write down on the back of it what you think the top search was for last January. Whoever gets it right, I'll send them one of our little stuffed Didit frogs. We have a little stuffed animal frog. Or if you're not interested in engaging in the game, I don't see a lot of people running for their business cards, so apparently nobody's interested in playing the game or they have no idea what the top search was. Does anyone want to just volunteer what they think the top search was for last January?
Britney Spears.
That's actually pretty close because usually Britney Spears ranks right at the top, but it was actually actually that was the week of March 22nd. But in January, tsunami was the #1 search, and similarly, over the last couple of weeks, the #1 search has been hurricane and Katrina related stuff. So news drives search behavior, and of course, Britney Spears wasn't far behind. Neither is Paris Hilton or Christina Aguilera or Pamela Anderson. So it makes you it gives you sort of an uncomfortable look into the psyche of the U.S. population, that's just the way. It's sort of a barometer of the psyche of the U.S. population. If you think about in Google for all of 2004, you have some of those same people reoccurring over and over again. It's rare for it not to be celebrity driven. So apparently everybody are like People magazine and Inquirer readers, and they sort of translate that interest right over to the web. So there are very few top searches that are not celebrity driven. So the first introductory exercise I have in the book, which I'd like you guys to do, really helps us understand what the process of sort of being a search engine is. So what I'll want you to do is you're going to actually do the job of a search engine. So we've got 10 different websites listed here, and I want you to rank them based on whatever criteria you want to use as far as what you would tell somebody to use if you were going to have them book research and book a trip to Europe. So take those 10 sites and just either write numbers next to them or however you want to do it to rank them from #1 to #10. We'll take a couple of minutes to do that, and then we'll continue onward. So how many of you put as one of your top 3 Travelocity, Orbitz, or Expedia? All right. And how many of you put as one of your top 3 a site that had the word Euro or Europe in it? So you can see already some of you have sort of decided differently what to rank. You're either ranking based on what you intrinsically know about having had an experience with perhaps one of the major travel portals, or you're looking at the domain name and making inferences from the domain name that that domain name might be particularly useful or appropriate for Europe-based search results. So that's the same challenge that the search engine has. The search engines have thousands and thousands of pages, or trillions of pages in hundreds of thousands of sites that they have to sort of weed out and decide that what would anybody who searched in European vacation, what would they want to see? So it's not an easy job, because clearly there are all sorts of different possible results that the search engine could give. And even for those of you in the room, there wasn't sort of a unanimous winner with respect to what sites are actually the most relevant for a Europe-related search. So the search engine's jobs are really to try to find which sites are most relevant to the majority of the searchers and float those up to the surface so that you guys can have a good user experience, or anybody can have a good user experience when they're searching in the search engine. So search engines have become sort of a replacement for the yellow pages, a replacement for encyclopedias. They're sort of the go-to item, or the go-to resource for anybody who's looking for information on anything. They become a replacement for libraries. They become a replacement for yellow pages, a replacement for an encyclopedia, a replacement for going to the store to learn about a product from a salesperson. The true definition of what a person might call a search engine is actually evolving every day, because people are starting to go to search engines for image-related searches, music-related searches, etc. So, sort of broaden your horizons with respect to what you think of a search engine being. So another exercise I want to do, just to, again, get a sense of how you guys are dealing with search engines, would be to sort of rank your, well, actually it's only 7, so rank your search engine use from the one that you use most often to the one that you use least often within the workbook. All right, so how many of you had Google as your #1 choice? So that pretty much matches up with the statistics that you would see from any of the third-party audience auditing companies. So Google is sort of the leader. Depending on how you rank leadership, you're going to get a slightly different result. Some audience measurement services rank it by the number of searches that are done every month. Others rank it by the percentage of time that you would spend at each engine, regardless of the number of searches you do. And others look at the number of actual clicks delivered from the search engines. And those numbers end up varying a little bit, because people who use one engine might click on more results than others, meaning that if you look at clicks delivered, you'll come up with a slightly different result than if you just look at search queries actually performed. But Google clearly has the lead. But Yahoo and MSN are still pretty strong, and MSN's been gaining a little bit of search query share lately. So, by no means is this a done deal. Every engine is trying to innovate and get you or get everybody to search more at their engine, because they're in competition with each other. Home use versus work use is also different. So, depending on whether people are searching at home or at work, sometimes their mix of engines changes. How many of you actually switch back and forth between different engines? Like, if you don't find it on one, you'll actually use another one. That's also pretty common, in that you're not exclusively a user of one search engine. You actually will move back and forth. It's sort of like the people who like both Coke and Pepsi. So they're like indifferent, whatever's there, that's what I'll use.